My name is Moon Wolfman Waters, and I'm here to share my experiences with you from the dark side of the world. All of the things you see, but you can't see from underneath the moon. The shadows, the abnormal, the paranormal. These experiences were firsthand from me and my friends, and these are our chronicles from underneath the moon. Hello, my friends. Welcome back in. I see you survived our last story. Good. Now, for another bone-chillingly real story from my own experiences and from the friends I grew up with. You all have flooded me with such wonderfully terrifying stories, and I wanted to say thank you from the bottom of my spooky little heart. Because these things are out there, and there are real incidents that people have encounters with the unexplained, the paranormal, or the abnormal. And we're here to tell those stories so that more people may be aware and may stay away from these areas. Or if they do somehow stumble upon these creatures or the areas they're in, they'll know what to do. Or try to do. Now, today's story takes us to an unlikely spot where you would think there would be no dark, but sometimes when the light shines the brightest, the dark shortly comes after. This story takes us to a hill, a land up in Frankfort County and Williamson County, where the two sides of counties meet each other in the middle, out on Harmony Baptist Church Road in West Frankfort, Illinois. It's a place called Strawberry Hill, and this story is about the cult of Strawberry Hill. Now, my father loved working, but for some reason at a certain age, he decided it would be good for us to move, get a change of scenery, and thought that the country would be the place for us to go. And of course, my mother agreed. So we moved ourselves from Heron to one of the most beautiful houses that money can buy, out in the middle of nowhere. Now, if anything was to happen out here, there's nobody. There's no police for at least a good 30 minutes. So, whatever you're dealing with, you'll have to keep it busy until the cops come. And even then, it isn't guaranteed that even they're gonna help you. So, for some odd reason, my father got this immaculate house that was wonderful and beautiful and extravagant and very high luxury for a wonderful price. We moved in without a second thought. My father, excited, said, "Son, I finally got the house of my dreams, and we're gonna raise our family here for the rest of our lives. You can bring your children out here. We'll raise you, and family can come out here and visit. Look at all this land we have." So, this beautiful house was a bright teal blue, almost Smurf colorish, if you will, but gorgeously put together, with white and black trim, and the way the house looked, it looked as if someone from royalty lived there, from days gone by. And the land that it lived on was lush, with beautiful trees, and just acre upon acre of gorgeous scenery and animals and beautiful creatures that would come right up to the house, as if to say, "Welcome here. It's peaceful." But we were deceived. The property it lied on had a giant forest behind it. And for some reason it seemed as if every time my father went to work on this forest to make a clearing for us to have certain things, well, that's when all, let's say, this negative energy would present itself as like a warning to tell my family and my father, "You shouldn't build here. In fact, you shouldn't even be here. The property you live on is not yours." But my father ignored the weird feelings, and we stayed for years. And over the years, we saw many terrifying things. But the thing that scared me the most wasn't something that you would see, that you would think would be a creature or an unexplained paranormal event. It was a man in a large black cloak who sauntered up our driveway as if he owned the whole area, with his hood over his head, marching forward as if he had had a mission. And the sun gleamed off his giant red ring as he pushed forward step after step, not even taking notice to my family's house. And of course, when this incident happened, I was alone. My father worked the days, and he worked another job as a pizza delivery man at night, so he would leave at 6 a.m., and there would be times he wouldn't come home till 3 a.m. sometimes. And my mother, she devout herself to God, and was down at the local church that was maybe 2 to 3 blocks away every Wednesday and Sunday. And if she wasn't there was times she would leave me alone at the house to go visit her friends in town. My mother felt very uneasy when my father wasn't around at the house. And I know what you're thinking. What a mother. She left you there alone? I told her I was fine, because at this time I didn't think anything of it. I didn't feel presence or evil or any bad energy at this time. The first instance was the man that I had previously just mentioned. The aforementioned man walked right through our property, up the driveway, around the house, and back through the forest, and curved off to the left, without even thinking about anybody coming out and being upset with him that he was on their property. It was like I said, his mentality was as if he owned this area. And it shocked me, and I was taken back. Now, my dog that we had, he was a beautiful dog. Yes, he was a German Rottweiler, and we had him on a giant log chain because we couldn't keep him on anything else. He couldn't be an inside dog. He'd chewed everything up. And when people come over, he was so protective of us. That's all he did was growl, and he would look at them like he was their next meal. Well, my friends didn't like it, so my father decided, we're gonna put him outside on this tree, Michael. I said, all right, Dad, but I don't think that's gonna hold him. Several times he broke the chains. So like I said, my father got him a log chain. And for any of you out there who are workers, you know that log chains are about the thickest it gets. There's no getting off that. So Cody was stuck right where he was at. But it would come around this time at night, every night, around midnight. Cody would go crazy. And I would see him running around, barking at what looked like shadows. And we had chickens and roosters. And I just thought it was the chickens got loose. Or one of the roosters, Zazu, would always run up and mock Cody and taunt him. So I figured they were just having a go at each other. But it was about the 5th or 6th night that it has happened in a row that I decided to walk outside. And I wish I wouldn't have. I walked outside to see a group of people lined near the forest, all cloaked in black, and my dog going crazy as they all just looked at him. Of course, me, with a baseball bat in hand, the brave idiot, walks out, yells, "What are you doing out here? Are you messing with my dog? I would advise that you leave. My father has a very big gun, and I'm not scared of any of you. If you try to hurt my dog, or do anything to my family or anything on this property, in any way, shape, or form, I will come after you." Immediately after saying this, I felt a sinking feeling come over me, like sorrow had just washed over my entire body, and I became depressed and sad. As I held on to my dog, I sat down near him and waited for them to leave. And it was odd, because the next time I had looked up after this, after sitting down and putting my arm around my dog and trying to calm him and pet him and give him the proper restraint he needs, because I don't want him running and attacking someone. They could hurt him. Who knows what these people are going to do? I gave him the attention. I heard him growl, and then they took off. And the next thing I knew, these people were back every night for the ensuing months to come. It became so bad that my friends didn't want to come to the house because they felt like it was scary. There was some sort of energy there that was just not comfortable. And also there were the events that would happen. For example, I went swimming with my friend Matt one time, and we were just swimming in the pool next to the house. Now, the house was in front of the swimming pool, and the garage was behind it. And after a baseball game, I figured my father was there. I hadn't seen him leave. It had just become dusk, and we decided that we wanted to swim. After a well-played baseball game with my friend, I thought we deserved it. And it was nice to have some camaraderie out there finally, after being out there alone for so long. You never know how truly terrifying it can be to sit with your own thoughts and the sounds of the country and noises that are unnerving until you're truly out there by yourself. So it was wonderful to have a friend. But after this, Matt never came back. We were swimming, and we heard a large noise coming from the bushes. It was like a growling noise, and my dog, Cody, immediately ran into his doghouse. Now, this is behavior that's not like him. He's a brave dog. He's a huge dog. And he didn't seem that he was scared of anything. But whatever had been going on had terrified him so much that he retreated to his doghouse almost instantaneously upon hearing these noises. Then, a large fishing bucket that my father used to fillet fish in for all the extra skin and scales goes flying over me and Matt's head as we're in the swimming pool. I laugh and say, "Come on out, Dustin. I know you're back there somewhere. Quit messing around. Come on, me and Matt just played a good baseball game. It'd be fun to see you and hang out." Now, Dustin was my neighbor. He was kind of a trickster. He would always do weird things to make you laugh. You know, he was very outlandish and enjoyed a good prank. But Dustin wasn't there. Matt begins to notice more movement from the forest behind where the bucket come from. As I called out again, "Dustin, come on, man. Look, this ain't funny anymore. This is a prank. Just come on out, dude. We don't got time for this." What we saw wasn't Dustin. It was a blob of black. And all you could see was a trace of red where its head was, like its eyes. But it was moving so fast we couldn't keep up with it. And there was an overwhelming smell of just disgusting, rotting meat. Now, I don't know if you've ever been around the smell of rotting meat, like soured pork chops, or soured beef, or anything that you've ever had in your refrigerator, maybe for too long that you forgot about. But it was most like this, times 1,000, with the smell of urine, and the smell of just defecation, like it had rolled in its own filth for months. Matt, immediately after seeing and hearing these things, jumps from the pool, runs inside without a second thought, and asks my mom, "Mrs. Parks, I want to go home." "Well, what's going on, Matthew?" "No, I don't want to explain anything. Mikey didn't do anything. I just have to go home. I forgot about something at home that I need to go do, and it's an emergency. I have to go right now. Please, let's go." Grabs the keys, puts them in my mother's hand. They run out the door. He pushed her out the door, down the stairs, as she's trying to ask questions. "Matthew, you don't listen. Is this serious?" "Yes, please, we have to go." I am left in the pool as they leave, alone with whatever this is. I immediately jump out of the pool, run inside, dry off, lock all the doors, lock all the windows, and get changed. I come back to loud knocks on my door. Of course, the previous experience I've had. If you know the first story, there's no way in hell I'm answering that. If it's one of my friends, I'll talk to him another day. But this went on for several hours, and my mother didn't come home till about 3 hours later. because she decided she wanted to stop and visit an old friend named Pearl and make sure her children Rebecca, Daniel, and Josiah were fine. Like I said, my mother was a woman of the church. She was constantly worrying about other people and trying to take care of them and worried for their well-being. That's what a person of light does. They worry. They have empathy for others that are suffering, and they try to fix them and make them better and bring them up out of whatever they have going on and help them to do better. And that was the antithesis of what my mother was doing. So at times like these when I was alone, especially after a scary event, I would just lock myself into some video games, put headphones on, and not listen to anything. So, after this unfortunate event, one night, in the middle of the night, I hear the noises outside of my window. It sounds like animals cackling and barking and ripping something to pieces. And just foul noises that I never wish for anyone in their entire life to hear. I can't believe some of the things I heard. I won't repeat them for fear of jogging the memory and the way I felt. My skin crawls now just thinking about it. It was also on this night that my father, almost around the same time, was in the garage, tinkering, because that's what my father did. If he wasn't working, he was always doing something around the house to help the home look better, to make it feel like a home he had built with his hands. So my father was doing some woodwork in this garage. And this is his story of what he encountered. He told me, "Michael, I'll never forget it. I was in the garage, and I heard a loud noise that sounded like a growl. And I looked up, and I see it crash down from this tree above me. All of the leaves fell down around it. It was huge and black, and its eyes were red as flames. And it charged towards me. In a panic, I ran into the garage and locked the door. I told myself, whatever that is out there is not human or normal, and I am keeping myself in here. My father said that it knocked on the door and would run around the garage, changing its voice from my mother's voice to my voice to my father's friend's voice that had passed away recently, and then to its own voice.
Come on, Dad, it's just me. Let me in, Dad. Let me in. I know you're freaked out, just let me in. Come on.
Michael? Let me in. It's me. I'm here to help you. Just open the door.
Just...
My father swears after that. It sat and waited and jiggled the handle of the door constantly. He would try to not think about it, to get it to go away, but it kept changing its voice and circling the house, and it was hitting the garage so hard that it was shaking the tools off the walls as it continued to attack my father. He hears the chickens scream outside. He hears my dog bark and yelp and fight. Whatever this is had obviously attacked him. Several hours of this go on. It becomes 4:30 in the morning. My mother to this day says that she felt my father was in danger, and she heard a howl from outside that woke her up, and she looked in the bed as the moonlight shined onto the bed and noticed that my father wasn't there. Fearing that something was wrong, she rushed outside to the door and looked outside. Seen nothing. Noticed his vehicle was here, but he wasn't in bed. She calmly walked outside and walked to the garage and knocked on the door several times.
Michael, come out!
No answer.
You better come out now!
My father was so petrified that he didn't want to answer my mother. And then finally, after she begged and begged, my father simply said,
Is that really you? All right, Lois. I'm gonna open this door. Whatever this is, I'm gonna let you know I got holy water.
My mom opens her eyes after praying, waiting for my father to open the door. My father opens the door, grabs her, pulls her inside, locks the door, and says, It's still out there. I know it's still out there, Lois. We gotta stay in here until the morning comes, and it'll be gone.
What are you going on about?
There's something out here. It was running around the garage. It changed its voice to you. It changed its voice to our son, Michael. It changed its voice to Michael's friends and my friends who just passed away. Joe. It changed its voice to Joe? Yes. Honey Joe's been dead for 2 weeks now.
Have you been
participating in extracurricular activities out here? You know what I mean. No, I haven't smoked in a long time. Okay, I was busy out here working on wood. I promise you, I'm not making this up. I'm not crazy. And I'm not high on drugs. Okay? I've been working a lot, but this isn't a figment of my imagination. Well, whatever it is gone. Can we get out of here now? My mother coaxed him, held his hand, opened the door, stood outside with it, swung it wide open and said, Look, there's nothing out here. Nothing's happening. Come on, you're safe with me. My mother grabbed his hand and led him to the house, where my father collapsed and cried, she said, for 45 minutes to an hour, like a baby who had just been born, uncontrollably wailing as his head sat in her lap and she petted him to calm him down from what he had just seen and experienced. My father had told me this, and after the noises I had heard and the things that had happened, I didn't want to be here anymore. I was worried about my dog. Well, 2 days after this incident that happened with my father, I didn't have to worry about my dog anymore. Because I went out to check on him one morning, and there had been a giant chunk that looked like something had taken a bite out of him that was the size of a lion. My dog lay dead in front of me, and I smelled an awful, rotten smell like I hadn't smelled before when me and Matt were in the swimming pool, and whatever was there made its presence very well known. And this was almost a warning, as to say, this is my land. This is what I did to your dog, and if you continue to stay out here, this is what's going to happen to you.
Now me never backing down from anything, being the brave moron that I am, got some friends from school and decided it would be a good idea to check the surrounding area. There was a barn that was nearby that was buried in some forest. We went to check on it to see if we could find anything. It was frightening. As soon as we entered, there was a large string that had giant bones on it, strung across it, and a fire under it that it looked like it had recently been lit, but it was put out. It was a giant fire. It looked as if it was used to cook whatever he had eaten that was alive, and hung its bones up to keep whoever or whatever away from this area. It smelled disgusting. Some time had passed. Things had calmed down. But then things picked up again about 3 months later. It was the fall time, and me and my friends were out hanging out, being kids. The corn had freshly been cut by the combine, and we went adventuring. There was a giant field next to our house. There was a divider from the forest, and then if you walked down the street, you could see where the forest ended. There was a line, and the cornfield started. We went to hang out in the cornfield, just to walk it to pick up extra pieces of corn. Why not? It's extra food. We stumbled upon one of the weirdest things I have ever seen in my life, and to this day, it still haunts me and bothers me, and I can't forget it. As we're walking, we see a giant metal door in the ground where the corn is coming up from, buried under a bunch of dust. Wipe it down and look at it. There was a ring attached to the door with a chain. It pulled open, and an awful smell opened, with the cool air from underground, with a ladder that descended down into what looked like, the only way I could explain it, would be a railway, an underground railroad way, but without the railroad tracks, like a tunnel that was dimly lit with candles on each side every so often. It smelled disgusting. Me and my friends, being curious, I'll put it that way, children, well, mid-teens at this point, we were, decided it would be a good idea to go down there and investigate. Whatever had happened to my dog, I would never forget that. Whatever happened to my father, I could never forget that. Even though I was scared beyond belief, I wanted answers. As we descended into the tunnel, the lights were lit. They were like candles with candelabras put up on a wall. And as about halfway down, we heard chanting, like a group of people in unison saying such strange things.
flashy lights coming from wherever they were. And without a second thought, I ran right back up the way from where we had come in. I wanted no part of what was going on down there. It was obvious it was a cult. And whatever they had been doing, from the evidence in the hen house, what they did to my dog, the smell, they had been giving some sort of sacrifices down there. And I wanted no part to be the next. Me and my friends ran out of there as quickly as we could. I told them I'm going home. Ran to my house. They all ran to their neighboring houses. And I told my parents what I had stumbled upon. Then my father, after I tell him this, tells me something. He says, "Sit down, son. I'd like to let you know something." "Okay, Dad." "Now listen. I think I may have made a mistake. And I think me, you, and your mother are in danger. Like, real danger here. I don't know what's going on around here. But I didn't want to tell you guys immediately about the house, about what happened, because I figured if we stayed here for a couple years and nothing happened, then there would be no reason. But due to the certain circumstances of the things that have happened to me, the things that have happened to your mother, us seeing ghosts, creatures, animals that are unexplained, the dog being attacked, the things that happened to me in the garage, I think I should tell you." I said, "Dad, you can tell me anything. I love you. I'm not going to judge you." He started crying. He looked at me and said, "Son, I bought this house because it was so cheap. But what I didn't tell all of you, and what I didn't know at the time myself, that I found out 6 months after we moved here from the retailer that sold us the house, that the family that had lived here before, a year before we moved in, was murdered and slaughtered and torn to pieces. It was a massacre. They found body parts all around the yard, markings, carvings, burn marks inside the house, on the property. A chill ran through my entire body, and it's as if my whole body became cold and just scared. I was upset, but I didn't even know what to begin to say. My father told me, "I just thought you should know. I feel like I wouldn't be much of a father if I told you after the events that have happened and after what you just told me." My mother come in smoking a cigarette. "We have to get out of here." My mother never smoked cigarettes. Ever. That should let you know how serious this was. The tension was palpable. The overwhelming feeling of gloom and just danger was very evident. My mother, I told her, "Well, are we still going to church?" She said, "Absolutely we are." I said, "Okay, well, you guys get ready. I still have to get ready and take a shower. You guys go ahead and drive up there and I will just walk up there and meet you. I have to stop at Rachel's house before I go first." I said, "Okay, are you sure?" I said, "Absolutely." My parents take off to go to church. After all of this, I figured church would cleanse me of whatever evil had been following me, or darkness that was following me, or had stuck itself to me, like some sort of an evil adhesive. I showered, got ready, locked the door, left my house, and
and begin walking. Now, from my house to the church is probably about a mile. There's a cornfield that sits right in front of our house also. It had just been combed over, like I said, with a combine. But I heard a dark growl. A large creature was growling from over behind the cornfield. So from my house, if you go directly down our driveway and take a left, it's kind of a curve. It loops and then goes to the right, and then you just go straight, and it's a straight shot to the church in front of us. Harmony Free Will Baptist Church. And my friend lives on the right before it. I don't know why I felt like something was chasing me. Something was following me. Like it was trying to chase me out of the area, or catch me, and maybe do terrible things to me. But whatever this was, sounded like a pack of dogs. A giant pack of dogs, or one giant dog. I don't know, I was so scared. I ran the whole way. I ran up my friend's driveway, and it sounded like it was right behind me. Like it was breathing on my neck. I could feel its presence. And as I ran, I jumped up, and Rachel opened the door and nearly hit me with it. "What are you doing, dork? You ready to go to church?" I just thought I'd get some exercise and run. I didn't want to tell her anything that was going on. But what's even more scary, she said to me, "Hey, did you see whatever that was?" "What are you talking about?" "After you ran up here behind you, it looked like something big and black just like bushed off to the left there, kind of through my field and took off." "No, I did not see that." I started to break down and cry. She asked me what's wrong. I told her everything. And then one of the most chilling things she told me. She said, about 6 months before we moved in, that her grandfather's cows, this is farmland where all of this is at. They used to have a big front yard that was fenced in with all of these cows. She said 6 months before we moved in there to the house we have now, she said every single cattle they had was massacred. This is 15 to 20 cows murdered, their entrails ripped out from their body, ripped limb from limb, torn apart like it was a game, like it was all too easy. Something big and strong and scary lived in this area, and it was territorial, and it didn't want us there. And it was telling the neighboring people. After this, we went to church. I asked God to forgive me and save me from whatever evil this was. And it must have been something that got to him from my lips to the Lord. Because that very next weekend, my parents said, "Well, we're not doing this anymore. You're going to your aunt and uncle's in Heron, and me and your mother are going to sit here and pack everything up, and then we'll see you in town, the house we're going to move into, in about a month." And I said, "Are you sure?" My father said, "Absolutely. We are not staying here one more day than we have to." My parents didn't even sleep in the house anymore. We slept at my grandfather's in town at Johnson City, near the Johnson City Park, where the baseball fields were. Now, I don't know if other families experienced what we experienced, but even today, with the woman I have now that's my wife, for Father's Day here recently, we went out to eat at a restaurant, and my father recanted the story of what happened to him that night, and I could see the pure fear and terror in his eyes. And he began crying and apologizing to all of us for the danger he had put us in. He still feels guilty about being out there, and it still bothers him To this day, and Lord knows it still bothers me, I forgave my father almost at the time he told me what had really happened in that house. But the strangest thing that happened after we left that house, about 3 months later, that house we lived in completely burned to the ground. Nothing was left. So I guess you can say we rode the coattails of evil and escaped on the heels of light. And I warn you, my friends, steer clear of the strawberry fields and the strawberry hills of Franklin County on Harmony Church Baptist Road. Because I think there's more out there than anybody else will ever want to see or have to deal with spiritually, physically. It's overwhelming. And it's like a film. Once it gets on your skin, you try to wash it off, but it won't come off. Even the memories of being there in these stories have stained me and my family to where every time we think about it, we get goosebumps and chills, and we get sick to our stomach for the thought of how long we stayed near this evil and how we escaped from the cult and the witchlands of West Frankfort, Illinois.
Subscribe and become a friend of fear today for more Chronicles from Underneath the Moon.